The autumn leaves were falling like golden memories outside the campus bookstore when she first noticed him. Maya had been working there for almost 6 months now, and she knew every regular customer by their reading habits. The philosophy students always smelled like coffee and looked tired. The business majors bought their books at the last minute and complained about prices. The art students touched everything but bought very little. But this boy was different. He came in every Tuesday and Thursday, right after her afternoon shift started. Always polite, always patient, even when the line was long. He never seemed rushed, never checked his phone while waiting, and he always said thank you like he really meant it. The first few times, Maya barely noticed. She had trained herself not to notice things that might matter. Her life had become a careful routine of staying safe. Wake up, attend classes, work at the bookstore, study alone in her dorm room, sleep, repeat. It was boring, but boring meant no surprises, no disappointments, no getting hurt again. The boy had kind eyes, she noticed one rainy Tuesday. The kind of eyes that seemed to actually see people instead of looking through them. When he smiled at the elderly professor ahead of him in line, it reached those eyes. Maya found this suspicious. In her experience, people who seemed too nice usually wanted something. "Good afternoon," he said when it was his turn. His voice was warm, like someone who actually enjoyed talking to people. "I'm looking for a book on teaching methods for kids, something practical, not too academic." Maya's fingers moved automatically across the keyboard, searching the inventory. She was good at her job because it required no emotional investment. Find book, process payment, move on to next customer. Simple. "We have 3 in stock," she said, not looking up from the screen. "Section E12, second shelf from the bottom. Thank you." He paused and she could feel him still standing there. Maya finally looked up, preparing her best conversation-over expression. "I'm Alex, by the way," he said with that genuine smile again. "I see you here every week. Thought I should introduce myself." "Maya," she replied automatically, then immediately wished she hadn't. Giving out her name felt like giving away a small piece of herself. "Nice to meet you, Maya." The way he said her name was careful, like he was storing it somewhere safe. "I'll go find that book now." After he left, Maya found herself thinking about that interaction more than she wanted to. Most people treated bookstore workers like furniture that happened to talk, but Alex had looked at her like she was a real person with thoughts and feelings. This made her uncomfortable in a way she couldn't explain. The next Thursday, he was back. This time he bought a guitar instruction book and asked if she knew anything about music. Maya loved music. It was one of the few things that could still make her feel something real, but she just shrugged and processed his payment. Sharing personal information felt dangerous, like opening a window in a house where you wanted to keep all the curtains closed. "I teach guitar to kids at the community center," Alex said as he waited for his receipt. He wasn't pushing for conversation, just sharing. Some of them have never touched an instrument before. It's amazing watching their faces when they play their first chord. Despite herself, Maya felt curious. She had always wondered what it would be like to help people instead of just serving them. But curiosity was dangerous too. It led to caring, and caring led to getting hurt. "That sounds nice," she said in her most neutral voice, the one that discouraged follow-up questions. Alex smiled anyway. "It is. Have a great day, Maya." As weeks passed, Maya noticed things about Alex that made her defensive walls feel less necessary, which scared her. He held doors for people without expecting thanks. When his card got declined once, he didn't get angry or embarrassed. He just laughed and said he'd have to eat less pizza that week. He remembered the names of other bookstore workers and asked about their classes and families. Maya had spent 2 years learning that trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Her parents had taught her that love could turn bitter and cruel. Her first relationship had taught her that promises meant nothing when someone better came along. Every lesson in her life had pointed to the same conclusion. Depending on people only led to disappointment. But Alex seemed to exist outside these rules somehow. He was studying to become a teacher, which meant he actually wanted to spend his life helping others. He volunteered his free time working with kids who needed extra attention. He treated everyone with the same steady kindness, from professors to janitors to stressed-out students like herself. Maya found herself looking forward to Tuesdays and Thursdays in a way that alarmed her. She started paying attention to which books Alex chose, trying to understand what kind of person he was. The titles were always thoughtful, books about child psychology, creative teaching methods, stories that would inspire young minds. Never anything selfish or shallow. One particularly difficult Thursday, when Maya had bombed a test and her dorm's heating was broken and everything felt overwhelming, Alex noticed something was wrong. Instead of his usual cheerful greeting, he quietly asked, "Rough day?" Maya almost said no automatically, but something in his expression stopped her. He looked genuinely concerned, not nosy or pushy, just caring. "Yeah," she admitted, surprising herself. "Kind of." "Those happen," Alex said simply. "Tomorrow will be different." It was such a small thing, but it stayed with Maya all evening. Not advice or false promises, just acknowledgement that bad days exist and pass. Someone had seen that she was struggling, and hadn't tried to fix her or make her smile or tell her everything happens for a reason. He had just witnessed her difficulty, and offered the gentle reminder that it wouldn't last forever. That night, Maya lay in her narrow dorm bed thinking about walls. The ones she had built around her heart weren't protection anymore. They were a prison. But prisons felt safe when the outside world seemed dangerous. The question she couldn't answer was whether Alex was as genuine as he seemed, or whether she was just lonely enough to believe in something that wasn't real. Through her window, she could see other students walking together across campus, laughing and talking like they didn't carry invisible armor everywhere they went. Maya wondered what that felt like, to move through the world expecting good things instead of bracing for the next disappointment. Tomorrow was Friday, which meant Alex wouldn't be in the bookstore. For the first time in months, Maya realized she would miss seeing someone's face. This realization terrified her more than any test or broken heart ever had, because it meant the walls around her heart were already beginning to crack. The first note appeared on a Tuesday morning, tucked inside the pages of a book Alex had returned. Maya found it completely by accident while checking the book back into the system. Written in neat handwriting on a small piece of paper, it said, "Sometimes the most beautiful gardens grow in the places that were once broken ground." Maya stared at the note for a long moment. Her first instinct was to throw it away. Messages like this felt too personal, too close to the heart she was trying to protect. But something made her slip it into her pocket instead. The next week, there was another one. This time it was tucked into his receipt when he bought a book about creative writing for children. The note had a tiny doodle of a sun peeking through clouds with words underneath. "Every storm runs out of rain eventually." Maya told herself these notes were probably meant for someone else. Maybe Alex was dating someone and using her bookstore as a message drop. That made more sense than thinking they were meant for her, the girl, who barely spoke to him beyond basic customer service. But then she noticed something that made her heart skip in a way she didn't want to acknowledge. Alex would always make eye contact when she handed him his receipt, that gentle smile playing at the corners of his mouth like he was sharing a secret. And the notes always seemed to appear right when she was having her hardest days. One afternoon, while organizing returned books, Maya was humming without realizing it. It was an old song by an indie band she'd discovered in high school, something obscure that most people had never heard of. She was so lost in the melody that she didn't notice Alex approached the counter until he joined in, humming the same tune perfectly. Maya stopped abruptly, embarrassed. "Sorry, I didn't realize I was doing that out loud." "Don't apologize," Alex said, his eyes lighting up with genuine surprise. "I can't believe you know that song. I thought I was the only person under 50 who'd ever heard of the Midnight Poets." Despite her usual caution, Maya felt a smile threatening to break through. "They're amazing. I have all their albums, even the really early stuff that's impossible to find." "No way," Alex said, leaning forward with enthusiasm. "Even Whispers in the Dark? I've been looking for that one for years." For the next 10 minutes, they talked about music with an ease that surprised Maya. Alex knew not just the popular songs, but the deep cuts, the B-sides, the stories behind the lyrics. He talked about how certain melodies could capture feelings that words alone couldn't express. Maya found herself nodding along, sharing opinions she hadn't voiced to anyone in years. When other customers started lining up behind Alex, the spell broke. Maya immediately went back to her professional mode, processing his purchase with renewed distance. But as Alex left, he turned back and said, "Maybe you could make me a playlist sometime. I'd love to hear what other hidden gems you've discovered." That evening, Maya's roommate Lily noticed her humming again while doing homework. "You seem different lately," Lily observed, looking up from her textbook. "Happier, maybe?" "I'm the same as always," Maya replied quickly, but even she could hear the lie in her voice. "It's okay to be happy, you know," Lily said gently. "I know the past couple years have been rough, but not everyone is going to hurt you." Maya wanted to argue, but the words stuck in her throat. Because lately she'd been thinking the same thing. The breakthrough came during their psychology class group project. Maya had specifically chosen this class because she thought understanding how people's minds worked might help her protect herself better. But when Professor Chen announced they'd be working in randomly assigned pairs, Maya felt her stomach drop. Of course, she got paired with Alex. "Looks like we're partners," Alex said after class. That same warm smile she was beginning to recognize. "Want to grab some coffee and figure out our topic?" Maya's first instinct was to suggest they just divide the work and do everything separately, but something made her say yes instead. The coffee shop near campus was crowded and noisy, but Alex found them a quiet corner table. As they spread out their notes and textbooks, Maya waited for the awkwardness to set in. Group work had always been torture for her. Other students were usually unreliable, pushy, or both. But Alex was different. He listened to her ideas without interrupting. When she suggested they focus their project on how childhood experiences shape adult relationships, he nodded thoughtfully and built on her concept instead of trying to change it completely. "That's brilliant," he said, making notes on their shared paper. "We could look at both positive and negative examples. Show how early experiences create patterns that either help or hurt us later." Maya found herself relaxing despite her better judgment. Alex was easy to work with. He did his share without being asked, respected her opinions, and never made her feel stupid for asking questions. During their second study session, Alex told her about his childhood. His mother had worked 2 jobs to support them after his father left when Alex was 8. Instead of becoming bitter, Alex had learned to see strength in his mother's determination and kindness in the neighbors who helped them through tough times. "I could have been angry," Alex said, stirring his coffee thoughtfully. "And I was for a while. But anger is exhausting. It's easier to focus on the people who showed up instead of the one who didn't." Maya studied his face, looking for signs that this was an act, that he was trying to impress her with false wisdom. But Alex's eyes held the kind of peace that only comes from real experience, real growth. Before she knew it, Maya found herself sharing too. Not everything, not the worst parts, but small pieces of her story. How her parents' fighting had made her feel like love was just another word for hurting each other. How she'd learned to expect disappointment so she wouldn't be surprised by it. Alex didn't try to fix her or offer easy solutions. He just listened, nodding at the right moments, his expression full of understanding rather than pity. "It makes sense that you'd want to protect yourself," he said finally. "But walls that keep pain out also keep good things from getting in." That night, Maya lay awake thinking about those words. For the first time in years, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, she was strong enough to take down a few bricks and see what happened. The next day, she left Alex a note of her own, tucked into a book she recommended about hope and healing. All it said was, "Thank you for seeing me," but it felt like the bravest thing she'd done in years. The coffee invitation came after they'd aced their psychology project presentation. Maya had been surprised by how naturally they worked together, finishing each other's sentences and building on each other's ideas like they'd been partners for years instead of weeks. "We should celebrate," Alex said as they packed up their materials. "There's this little cafe off campus that makes incredible hot chocolate. My treat since you did most of the hard work." Maya's automatic response was ready. Thanks, but she had studying to do, maybe another time, the usual polite rejection. But something made her pause. Alex wasn't pushing or expecting anything. He was just offering to share a moment of accomplishment with someone who had helped make it possible. "Okay," she heard herself say, "but I'm paying for my own drink." Alex laughed, and the sound made something warm unfurl in Maya's chest. "Fair enough. You drive a hard bargain." The cafe was small and cozy, with mismatched furniture and local artwork on the walls. They found a table by the window where afternoon sunlight painted golden squares on the worn wooden surface. Maya ordered her usual black coffee, but Alex convinced her to try their signature hot chocolate instead. "Trust me," he said with that gentle smile. "Sometimes the unfamiliar choice turns out to be the best one." As they settled into their seats, Maya felt the familiar panic that came with unstructured social time. What were they supposed to talk about? What if awkward silences stretched between them? What if Alex realized she was boring and ordinary once there was no assignment to focus on? But Alex had a way of making conversation feel natural. He asked about her major, her favorite classes, her plans after graduation. Not nosy questions, but genuine curiosity about who she was beyond their shared project. "I want to be a school counselor," Maya found herself admitting. "I know it sounds silly, but I keep thinking about kids who feel lost or scared. Maybe I could help them figure things out before they build walls so high they can't climb over them." Alex's expression grew serious, thoughtful. "That doesn't sound silly at all. It sounds like you want to give other people something you needed when you were younger." The accuracy of his observation caught Maya off guard. She'd never put it into words that way, but he was right. Every career choice, every class she'd taken had been leading toward helping people who felt as alone as she once had. What made you want to teach? She asked, deflecting attention from herself but genuinely curious about his answer. Alex stared out the window for a moment, gathering his thoughts. When I was 12, I had this teacher, Mr. Rodriguez. I was angry all the time back then, angry at my dad for leaving, angry at my mom for working so much, angry at the world for being unfair. I got in trouble constantly. He paused to take a sip of his coffee. One day, Mr. Rodriguez kept me after class. I thought I was in trouble again, but instead he asked if I wanted to help him organize the classroom library. He didn't lecture me or ask a bunch of personal questions. He just gave me something useful to do with all that anger. Maya found herself leaning forward, drawn into the story. Every day after school, I'd go to his classroom and help with little projects. He'd talk to me about books, about his own childhood, about how feelings are just energy that needs somewhere to go. He never made me feel broken or wrong for being angry. He just helped me find better ways to use that energy. That's beautiful, Maya said softly, and meant it. He changed my whole life just by seeing something good in me when I couldn't see it myself, Alex continued. I want to be that person for other kids. The one who notices when someone is struggling and offers them a chance to be part of something bigger than their problems. As Alex talked, Maya watched his face light up with passion and purpose. This wasn't someone who had chosen teaching because it was easy or safe. This was someone who genuinely believed in the power of human connection to heal and transform lives. You already do that, Maya said before she could stop herself. I've seen you with other people. You notice things. You make people feel seen. Alex looked surprised. You think so? I know so. Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks but pushed forward anyway.
You did it with me.
I was perfectly content being invisible, and you made me feel like someone worth knowing. The words hung in the air between them, more honest than Maya had intended to be. She waited for Alex to look uncomfortable or change the subject, the way people usually did when conversations got too real. Instead, he reached across the table and gently touched her hand. You are worth knowing, Maya. You're smart and thoughtful and stronger than you give yourself credit for. I hope someday you'll see yourself the way other people see you. Maya's throat tightened with unexpected emotion. When was the last time someone had said something like that to her and meant it? When was the last time she'd believed it might be true? I don't know how to do this, she whispered, gesturing vaguely between them. Do what? Trust someone. Let someone get close. I keep waiting for you to disappoint me or hurt me or just leave when you realize I'm too much work. Alex was quiet for a long moment, and Maya braced herself for the gentle rejection she was sure was coming. I can't promise I'll never disappoint you, he said finally. I'm human, which means I'm going to mess up sometimes, but I can promise that I won't give up on you easily, and I won't leave just because things get complicated. Something inside Maya's chest cracked open at those words. Not breaking, but blooming. Like a seed that had been waiting years for the right conditions to finally grow. What if I'm too scared? She asked. Then we'll go slow, Alex said simply. We'll take it one day at a time, one conversation at a time. No pressure, no expectations, just possibility. Maya looked down at their hands, still connected across the table. For the first time in years, possibility didn't feel like a threat. It felt like hope. Okay, she said, so quietly she wasn't sure he'd heard her, but Alex's smile told her he had. Okay. As they walked back to campus together, Maya noticed that the world looked different somehow. The trees seemed more vivid, the sky more open. It was the same path she'd walked hundreds of times, but she was seeing it with new eyes. Eyes that were learning, slowly but surely, to expect good things instead of preparing for the worst. For 3 weeks, Maya felt like she was living in a different world. A world where someone texted her good morning messages that made her smile before she was fully awake. A world where she looked forward to study sessions that turned into long conversations about dreams and fears and favorite childhood memories. A world where happiness felt possible instead of dangerous. Alex was patient with her anxiety, never pushing when she needed space, always there when she was ready to try again. He introduced her to his friends gradually, including her in group activities without making her feel like she was on display. Maya found herself laughing more, worrying less, and slowly believing that maybe she deserved good things after all. Then David came back. Maya was restocking shelves at the bookstore on a Thursday afternoon when she heard his voice behind her. "Well, look who's still hiding in the same old place." She turned around slowly, her heart sinking as she saw his familiar smirk. David Chen had been her first real relationship, the one who had taught her that promises could be broken and trust could be shattered in a single moment. She hadn't seen him since he'd transferred schools last year, and she'd been perfectly happy with that arrangement. "Hello, David," she said carefully, keeping her voice neutral. "I heard you were studying abroad." "Just got back," he said, leaning casually against the bookshelf. "London was amazing, but I missed this place." "I missed you." Maya's hands tightened around the book she was holding. "I'm working right now." "Come on, Maya, don't be cold. We were good together, you know we were. I made some mistakes, sure, but I've grown up a lot since then. I've been thinking about us." The old Maya would have believed him. The old Maya would have remembered the good times and convinced herself that maybe this time would be different. But Maya had spent months learning to trust her instincts, and every instinct she had was screaming warnings. There is no us anymore. "David, that ended when you decided I wasn't enough for you." David's expression shifted, became more serious. "Look, I know I hurt you, but we had something real, something worth fighting for. This new guy you're seeing, Alex, right? He seems nice enough, but is he really the type you can build a future with?" Maya felt cold suddenly. "How do you know about Alex?" "Small campus," David shrugged. "People talk. And honestly, Maya, I'm worried about you. This guy, he's too perfect, you know? Nobody's that nice without wanting something in return. Trust me, I'm looking out for you here." For a moment, Maya felt the old doubts creeping in. The voice in her head that had always whispered she wasn't good enough, wasn't worth genuine love, wasn't deserving of someone like Alex. David was just saying out loud what she'd been afraid to think. "You don't know him," Maya said, but her voice sounded weaker than she intended. "I know guys like him," David pressed. "The ones who act all patient and understanding until they get what they want. Then they move on to the next project. At least with me, you knew where you stood." That night, Maya lay in bed staring at the ceiling, David's words echoing in her mind. What if he was right? What if Alex's kindness was just an elaborate performance? What if she was being naive, setting herself up for an even worse heartbreak than the first time? By morning, Maya had convinced herself that pulling back was the smart thing to do. Better to end things on her terms than wait for Alex to disappoint her. When Alex texted asking if she wanted to grab lunch, Maya replied that she was busy. When he suggested studying together, she said she preferred working alone. When he asked if everything was okay, she said she was fine, just stressed about exams. Alex didn't push, which somehow made Maya feel worse. A part of her wanted him to fight for her, to prove David wrong by refusing to give up easily. But Alex respected her boundaries, giving her space she had asked for but didn't actually want. Maya started spending time with David again, telling herself it was just as friends. He was familiar, predictable in his selfishness. With David, she knew exactly what to expect: disappointment. There was something almost comforting about that certainty. David took her to expensive restaurants and told her about his adventures in London. He was charming when he wanted to be, and he remembered all her favorite things. But he also interrupted her when she tried to talk about her classes, dismissed her career dreams as impractical, and made jokes about her anxiety that weren't really funny. One evening, as they walked across campus after dinner, David slipped his arm around her waist possessively. "See? This feels right, doesn't it? We understand each other, Maya. We're both complicated people who don't need fairy tale romance to be happy." Maya wanted to agree, wanted to believe that settling for familiar disappointment was better than risking unknown heartbreak. But as they passed the community center where Alex volunteered, She saw him through the window, patiently helping a little girl position her fingers on a guitar fret. The contrast hit her like a physical blow. Here was David, telling her she should be grateful for scraps of affection, while 50 feet away was Alex, giving freely of his time and energy to help a child learn something new. "I need to go," Maya said suddenly, pulling away from David's arm. "What? Maya, come on, don't be dramatic." But Maya was already walking away, her heart pounding as she finally understood what she'd been doing. She'd been so afraid of getting hurt that she'd chosen guaranteed misery instead of possible joy. She found Alex after his volunteer session ended, standing in the parking lot looking tired but content. "Maya," he said, surprise and something that might have been relief crossing his face. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I'm sorry," she said, the words tumbling out before she lost her nerve. "I'm sorry for pulling away, for shutting you out, for being too scared to believe that someone like you could actually care about someone like me." Alex stepped closer, his expression gentle. "What changed?" "I saw you with that little girl," Maya said, tears threatening to spill over. "And I realized that you're not pretending to be kind. You just are kind, and I've been punishing you for other people's mistakes." "Maya, I'm terrified," she interrupted. "I'm terrified that you'll leave, that you'll hurt me, that I'm not strong enough for this. But I'm more terrified of pushing away the best thing that's ever happened to me, because I'm too scared to believe I deserve it." Alex reached out and gently wiped away a tear that had escaped down her cheek. "You deserve all the good things in the world, Maya. But more importantly, you deserve the chance to choose what you want instead of just accepting what you think you can handle." Standing there in the parking lot under the streetlights, Maya realized she was at a crossroads. She could choose fear, choose the familiar pain of relationships that made her feel small, or she could choose hope, choose the terrifying possibility that love didn't have to hurt. "I choose you," she whispered. "If you'll still have me." Alex's smile was like sunrise. "Always." Three months later, Maya stood in front of her bedroom mirror adjusting the volunteer t-shirt that still felt new and unfamiliar. Today was the community center's annual talent show, and she'd finally worked up the courage to help Alex with his music program. "You sure you're ready for this?" Her roommate Lily asked from the doorway, but her smile was encouraging. Those kids can be pretty energetic. Maya took a deep breath. I think so. Alex has been preparing me for weeks. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? She was joking, but part of her was still learning that not every new experience had to end in disaster. The old Maya would have spent the morning listing everything that could go wrong. The new Maya, the one who was slowly emerging, was starting to focus on what might go right instead. The community center buzzed with excitement when she arrived. Kids ran around in their best clothes while parents set up chairs and hung decorations. Alex was in the middle of it all, somehow managing to tune guitars, calm nervous performers, and direct the setup crew all at the same time. Maya, a small voice called out, and she turned to see Rebecca, the shy 7-year-old she'd been working with for the past month. The little girl who had reminded Maya so much of herself. Quiet, careful, always watching from the edges. Hi, sweetheart, Maya said, kneeling down to Rebecca's level. Are you excited for your big performance? Rebecca nodded solemnly, clutching her small guitar. What if I mess up? What if everyone laughs? Maya felt her heart squeeze. She recognized that fear so clearly. The certainty that trying meant risking failure, that staying safe was better than taking chances. You know what I learned recently? Maya said, tucking a strand of hair behind Rebecca's ear. Sometimes the scariest things turn out to be the most wonderful things. And even if you make a mistake, everyone here loves you and wants you to succeed. Really? Really. And if you get scared up there, just look for me in the audience. I'll be cheering for you the whole time. As Rebecca ran off to join the other young performers, Alex appeared at Maya's side. Look at you, being all wise and encouraging. I'm learning, Maya said with a smile. From a pretty good teacher. The talent show was everything Maya had expected and nothing like she'd feared. Yes, there were forgotten lyrics and missed notes and one spectacular tumble during a dance routine. But there was also pure joy, the kind that comes from trying something new and having people celebrate your courage instead of judge your performance. When Rebecca took the stage, Maya held her breath. The little girl's fingers found the right chords, and her sweet voice filled the room with a simple song about friendship. When she looked out into the audience and found Maya's face, her smile was brighter than the stage lights. After the show, as they helped clean up, Alex pulled Maya aside. I have something for you, he said, reaching into his backpack. He pulled out a small journal with a sunflower on the cover. I noticed you're always writing little thoughts on scraps of paper. I thought you might like something more permanent. Maya opened it to find an inscription on the first page. For Maya, who taught me that the bravest thing you can do is let someone see your heart. Here's to all the beautiful words you haven't written yet. Alex, she started, but her voice caught. You don't have to say anything, he said softly. I just wanted you to know that watching you grow and open up and become who you're meant to be, it's been the privilege of my life. Maya looked around the community center, at the kids hugging their parents, at the volunteers laughing as they stacked chairs, at the evidence of a day spent lifting people up instead of tearing them down. 6 months ago, she would have felt like an outsider looking in. Now she felt like she belonged. I want to tell you something, Maya said, taking Alex's hand, and I want you to know that I mean it. Not because I think it's what you want to hear, but because it's true. Alex waited patiently, the way he always did. I love you, Maya said, the words coming easier than she'd expected, not just for being patient with me or for helping me heal. I love you for who you are, the way you see good in everyone, the way you make people feel valued, the way you choose kindness even when it's hard. Alex's smile was soft and warm and full of wonder. I love you too, Maya. I love your strength and your courage and the way you're determined to help other people find their way. I love that you never gave up on yourself even when it felt impossible. As they walked home together through the quiet campus streets, Maya realized that happiness didn't feel fragile anymore. It felt solid, built on a foundation of trust and mutual respect and genuine affection. What are you thinking about? Alex asked, noticing her thoughtful expression. I was thinking about walls, Maya said. How I spent so long building them to keep people out. But walls don't just protect you from bad things, and they keep out all the good things too. And now? Maya squeezed his hand. Now I think I'd rather build bridges instead. A year later, Maya would look back on this conversation as the moment she truly understood what it meant to choose love over fear. Not just romantic love, but the bigger kind. The love that reaches out to lonely kids and helps them find their voices. The love that sees potential in broken things and nurtures them back to wholeness. She would go on to become the school counselor she'd dreamed of being, working with children who felt invisible and showing them that being seen was possible. Alex would teach in the same district, and they'd spend their evenings talking about the kids they'd helped that day, building a life around the simple belief that everyone deserved to be valued. But all of that was still to come. For now, Maya was content to walk through the darkness with Alex's hand in hers, no longer afraid of what tomorrow might bring, because she'd finally learned the most important lesson of all. She was strong enough to handle whatever came, and she didn't have to face it alone. The walls around her heart hadn't just melted. They'd transformed into something better. Into openness, into trust, into the kind of love that made everything else possible.